Story 1. Oh my God. Those little Kool-Aid bursts in the plastic bottles. I haven't seen them in forever. I used to grab them all the time after school, just like my mom would pack them for lunch. Also, the sound of the ice cream truck coming down the street. I swear those used to be everywhere. Story 2. That peppery, static sound when you turn a tube television off that has been on for hours. When I was little, I would go up to the screen and smell the ozone coming off of it. Story 3. The weird feeling I had on Sundays. You would still have the entire day for yourself, but you knew school would start the next day, so you had to do homework and so on. Story 4. I remember the excitement of Saturday morning cartoons. Feels different now. Watching cartoons was a simple joy that made weekends special. It's nice to reflect on those carefree times. Story 5. Appointment television meant knowing exactly where you would be on Friday nights at 8 p.m., watching Donnie and Marie with your family, or Thursday nights at 10 p.m., watching Hill Street Blues. You would also check the TV listings for any interesting movies coming up. If you were lucky, Creature Double Feature had 2 Godzilla movies showing or 2 Hammer horror films in a row, offering pure bliss. Sometimes there would be a Bruce Lee movie on at 2:15 a.m., and you'd do everything you could to stay awake and watch it because it wouldn't be shown again for 2 years. Story 6. Popcorn balls around Halloween time. Special promotion countdown for new cartoons. I will never forget the weeks leading up to Avatar, The Last Airbender, and Adventure Time. I haven't had cable for years, so I probably just miss them now. Speaking of those special cartoon crossovers like Jimmy Neutron and Fairly OddParents. Also, can we remember silly bands? Story 7. I haven't seen the ice cream trucks with jingles since I was a child. I recall running outdoors to catch them and get a treat. You don't see them much these days. Story 8. That feeling of waking up next to your best friend after a sleepover. I'd give anything to wake up next to her one more time. Lost her to cancer 2 years ago this month. Go, I miss her. Sorry, sad. But it's what came to my mind. Story 9. Huge flights of ducks and geese, like hundreds of them in multiple chevrons, sometimes many times a day. Fireflies in swarms so numerous and bright you'd swear you could read by them. Thousands of little lights winking on and off across the meadow. Story 10. The smell of the paper getting unrolled on the kitchen table, flipping through the pages and finding the comics. Laying on the living room floor and reading the comics. Story 11. I don't know if it was a city unique thing, but the grocery stores I used to go to with my mom had these little juice bottles with miniature heads of cartoon characters for their tops. They were like collectibles or something, and I haven't seen them in years. Story 12. The sound of a kid's bike with playing cards clothespinned against the spokes for that ultra-cool whiffle, whiffle, whiffle sound that increased in pitch the faster you went. Story 13. I was randomly watching Adam Savage videos yesterday, and I saw he had a yellow robot in one of his display cases. This immense wave of nostalgia hit me, but I couldn't place it. I eventually worked out it was Weibo from Flubber. I used to also have what was, I think, a McDonald's Weibo toy that I took everywhere with me for a long period of time, and I watched Flubber many times. I don't think I've watched the movie since I was a kid. Story 14. Good McDonald's or cereal toys used to be actual plastic toys. At some point, there were even CD games. Now they're mostly cardboard. To be fair, I saw a plastic collection at McDonald's recently, so quality toys may have a comeback. Also, physical prizes in chip bags. Now, everything is online, and you only get a chance at winning something if you enter some information on a website. Story 15. Saturday morning cartoons. Not just the cartoons, but the fact that it was something special that we all shared. And that was all the television we needed and wanted for the rest of the day. I missed that too. Story 16. The religious TV program Lamp Unto My Feet aired from 6:30 to 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings, right before TV cartoons began at 7 o'clock. I don't miss it, I'm not fond of it, but I definitely haven't seen it since my childhood. Lamp Unto My Feet was an American ecumenical religious program that was produced by Columbia Broadcasting System Television and broadcast from 1948 to 1979 on Sunday mornings. The title comes from Psalm 119. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. Story 17. There was a cartoon public service announcement in the 80s about cocaine usage where a man is getting ready for his day and snorts up things in each scene until finally he snorts his whole family up. I have searched high and low and can't seem to find a clip of it, but I know it exists. Scared the crap out of me as a child. Does anyone remember this too? I would love to see it again. Story 18. The chimes of my grandparents' old grandfather clock would do progressive chimes every 15 minutes. Then, at the top of the hour, it would perform the entire chime sequence, followed by an equal number of chimes for the hour it was. Story 19. Newspapers used to have a page of comics and crosswords, and an entire section of comics in color on the weekends. One local paper actually had them in a booklet like a comic book. They dropped most of the daily comics, and the weekend paper is not the large entity it used to be. Story 20. Swishing sounds of taffeta slips all my older female relatives wore under their dresses. Fortunately, it wasn't the norm when I was older and needed to wear a slip. Story 21. One thing I often hear people mention is the excitement of playing outside until sunset, especially the sound of kids laughing and running around. There's something magical about those carefree moments that seem to fade as we grow up. Story 22. I have not seen a rotary phone in years. It seems so strange to think that was once the primary way people communicated. I remember how cool it felt to dial a number and hear that satisfying click-click sound. It was like a little ritual. Story 23. There was this old ice cream shop in the town I grew up in, and they had this rainbow ice cream. It wasn't rainbow sherbet, but a wonderful creamy rainbow ice cream. I never saw it again after that place shut down when I was a kid. It was back in the 70s. Story 24. So there was a time when, for $1, you could get a packet of chewing gum with collectible cards. It was like a tiny envelope, and in there you could find the gum, obviously, a card with something, usually soccer players, Pokemon, or cars, a sticker or temporary tattoo, and fake money. It was a piece of paper that resembled various bills, usually dollars, euros, or Romanian currency. I used to collect those bills and cards and set up a tiny stand at school where I would sell my duplicates and small items I could find wandering around for cards I did not have. Story 25. In the late 80s and early 90s, there was this kind of jello that would form 3 layers. A fluffy light top layer, a creamy middle layer, and a bottom layer that was regular jello. I absolutely loved it, and then it disappeared. Also, Purplesaurus Rex flavored Kool-Aid. I'm pretty sure it was just a combination of lemon and grape, but I've never been able to recreate it. Story 26. Looking forward to a full 2-day weekend on Fridays, where I can do anything I want or just relax from the week. Talk about missing what you once had. That feeling is magical. Story 27. Demo games in cereal boxes. Tall nerd ropes. Blockbuster. Hollywood Video. Dime tap purple bear suckers along with the original ingredients. Analog TV. Snow channels with and without partial picture and sound. Movie props that aren't CGI. It seemed like there were more events when I was a kid. I have not been to the beach since I was a kid. The next one I still have, but it's nice to share. VHS player and tapes, especially homemade recordings. You'd be surprised replaying them because lots of times a TV show is recorded around the news. So my family has a tape my parents recorded. It has a bunch of holiday kid shows on it like Charlie Brown, Garfield, Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph, etc., as well as Ghostbusters. But there are commercials and news on it from the time as well. There was Desmond Tutu. What's weird is in 2021 we watched the tape again, and after we turned it off, we turned on the news and they were talking about Tutu because he just died and then showed the exact coverage we saw on the tape when it happened. The Cold War, amongst other things. Very interesting. There are commercials like the Christmas commercials of the 7-Up mascot on a fire truck, McDonald's, and the rest of the mascots on ice skates and looking to the night sky. The times were so different then. So homemade VHS tapes are like time capsules. You don't see things like that. For a while, the Campbell's Soup Company brought back the Let It Snow commercial where the snowman melts to reveal it was actually a kid under that snow, which was nice to see again. Story 28. We had a clothes chute, as did everyone I knew. You would put your dirty clothes through it, and they would go to a box made of wood slats in the basement, so that no one had to carry them downstairs, and parents didn't have to bug kids as much. It was a fun game. Story 29. Telephone booths where you can call somebody from used to be normal when I grew up. I saw one in England, to be fair, but it was decorative. No idea why they were ever a thing other than to travel through time. Story 30. Like a very bright day. I don't know how, but I can never see that bright room on a Wednesday afternoon with the window illuminating it so brightly with orange light, almost like my eyes were color-graded fully orange for an hour or two. Story 31. One thing I haven't seen since childhood is those ice cream trucks with the jingles. I remember running outside to catch them for a treat. You don't see them around much these days. Story 32. My mom tells me that I'll end up like my deadbeat dad, whom I resemble so much. She is now upset that I have more maturity than her and, as a result, a better job and more stable life. Story 33. I had a particular Mexican dip-ready meal in 2001. I've never found it in the shops and don't know what it's called. One day I might find it and eat it again. Story 34. Good children and teenage TV shows, like Ben 10 or Danny Phantom. Not even because I no longer watch TV myself, but because none of my nephews or young cousins watch any modern TV shows for children or teenagers. They mostly watch YouTube. Story 35. White dog poop must have been from a dog food that is no longer available. But I remember seeing white dog poop in people's yards in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Story 36. DVDs. I remember when they were still the primary source of watching movies. My family had one of those DVD cases filled to the brim with movies. A good deal of my favorite childhood movies were in that case, like Cars, The Land Before Time, Chicken Little, Hoodwinked, and the first 3 Toy Story movies. I remember the bouncing DVD logo on the TV and using my shirt to try and get scratches off. I started doing this when I was 3 years old, according to my parents. I also remember the advertisements for different movies that would play before the movie would start, coming soon to theaters, and the different menus for the movies. I feel sad that kids nowadays grow up with Cocomelon and not this. Story 37. Bobcats wandering through the yard. Alligators not bothering anyone because they still had ample habitat and food. Bobwhites all the time. No one rushing. No one distracted by nonsense like devices all the time. Temperatures rarely above 80. Shoe skates and the sound of them on the sidewalk. And so much more. Story 38. All the fireflies are gone, and there are far fewer dragonflies as well, and little green sticky frogs who used to cling to the back kitchen screen door at night. All in the summer. They're just gone. Story 39. Trying to watch a premium cable channel through Wayne's World Vision. Squiggly lines. You got sound, and sometimes you could figure out the shape of something in your mind. The milk truck coming to the house. Story 40. Going to the shop to buy a new game, then getting to open the box and see what was inside, and reading the manual on the way home. I haven't had that feeling as an adult. Story 41. There used to be these things called Reese's Balls or something. They came in the candy aisle, and my grandma would pour them in a bowl for me. I think I was still small when they stopped making them, but I loved them. Story 42. If you're an 80s kid, you can probably hear this image in your mind. Story 43. My grandpa and I would go to the store and get a bag of fudge popsicles, but they were not name brand. I distinctly remember that they came in a clear bag and they were the wide kind of fudge popsicles. Anyway, in the bag they were lined up in rows that alternated. One half were brown fudge and the other half were yellow fudge. I have never seen a yellow fudge popsicle since then. No one seems to know what I'm talking about either. This would have been in the early 1990s. Story 44. Oh, what I'd give to be small and lay on the blue daycare floor mats again, fall asleep, stretch, and listen to Israel and New Breed's album, A Deeper Level. It was a different kind of peace. Story 45. Camera. That take Polaroid or 35mm film. They were so common people would have them out for everything, albums, getting film developed and being excited for it to be developed. Yes, they are still around. But they were just like phones. Most everyone had them. Story 46. Gas stations used to give out stuff with a fill-up. Cutlery, food storage containers, screwdrivers, trading cards, collector coins, glasses, all sorts of odd, crazy items. Story 47. Since I am a boomer, some of the sights and sounds for people in Bushwick. Daily garbage pickup, the ragman, The old ladies scrubbing the stoops and sidewalks. In summer, there were kiddie rides. Half Moon was my favorite. The guy selling watermelons, pronounced watermelons, the man who sold chunks of coconuts with or without jolly, which made us kids giggle every time. Soda and seltzer delivery. Best of all, 3 different ice cream trucks, all with distinctive songs. There was Carvel with a plain bell, Mr. Softy, and if you happened to be in Ridgewood, there was Bungalow Bar. Story 48. I guess the idea of trying something new involves some risk and discovery. I'm a millennial, while my siblings are mostly Generation X. We used to be allowed to try something without even looking at the manuals that came with a new product, and we found it could do a lot more than what the manufacturers intended. The most obvious example of this wasn't a new toy. It was when we had the chance to go to a park or playground. There were many hazardous things that could leave a mark, but our parents mostly let us be unless it required a trip to the emergency room. However, most of the time they just cleaned off the wound and let us go back and play. Many even left us unsupervised. Today, I don't see that often. I mean, we had strangers around, but we were taught about stranger danger, and there was usually an adult who would tell them to get lost. However, when I go near a park or playground today, many parents are pretty much hovering over their children and not allowing them to see what hidden yet safe things they can do. That's if I see anything at all.